Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years.
Welcome to the Center for Creative Living, and this is the Reverend Doti Boon. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you're having a great Sunday. I know it's been a great Sunday for me so far, and I'm excited about our speaker today. It's the Reverend Connie Habash, and she has spoken to us before and always is an exciting speaker. And today she's going to be speaking to us about responding to the world's shadow. I think many of you feel that the world certainly is in shadow, and how do you respond to it? What do you do about it? Now, next week we're having prayers for Dia de los Muertos, and that's going to be with Laura Marshall. Yeah, you know, Laura moved up north, and we haven't seen her a lot, and it's going to be exciting to see her do her service. And hopefully, a Reverend Janet Child will be able to join us. We always so enjoy it when she does. Now, what's happening is that we're going to get a group healing from everybody who's watching this video, is watching this service. And Laura's going to be doing that, and it was a healing that she learned from her meditation group in Oaxaca. As many of you know, Laura was born in Oaxaca, Mexico, and she is so connected to what's going on there. And so when you hear her, you will feel that spiritual energy flowing through her to help you through whatever's going on now, but also so you can help her and all of us in prayer to release those beings who are stuck here. It's ready for them to move on and move on into spirit. Did you know you can be a helper? Yes, each one of you can help the Creator with the beings that sometimes just get stuck. And I know you can do it. Now we have so many wonderful things coming up. We have the prayer that's going to be led by our Reverend and Corbin. And then, of course, we're going to have Connie. And afterwards, we're going to be having a wonderful meditation with our Reverend Dr. Janet Childs and an accompanying video. Don't forget to tune in so you can join the chat. Yeah, the chat room is where you get to see the people you know, meet new people, and get to find out a little bit about what they're going through and what's happening. So thank you so much for signing in, and we'll let you know when it's time for us to come back into our brick and mortar church, because right now it still doesn't feel too safe because we have the 6-foot distancing. And if you're distancing 6 feet in each of your front, back, right, and left sides, that doesn't leave an awful lot of room in our sanctuary. And also, we want to make sure that it's safe for the choir to come back and to listen to their beautiful voices. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know. And when I say stay tuned, make sure that we have your address, your email address, so we can get in touch with you and let you know what's happening. Thanks again. And now, let's get ready to pray with our Reverend Ann Corbin.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Ann Corbin, Associate Pastor at the Center for Creative Living, and I'm pleased to bring you this morning's prayer. You know, this week has been kind of a challenge for me. Last weekend, I had started watching the 34th Annual World Congress on Illumination with Patricia Cota Robles. It's on YouTube. I only managed to listen to 3 of the 6 days, and the meditations were wonderful. So connective, and they opened me up to our oneness as we are working together, rebooting the planet to bring it to the 5th dimension of love. I didn't get back to the other 3 days yet, but I know I will, even if I just go straight to the meditations because they're so powerful. But then something happened on Tuesday, and a lot of my old feelings came up while I was in a counseling session. I felt like I was back at square one and was angry with myself for allowing myself to, quote, fall from grace, unquote, as Patricia says quite often. Thankfully, these feelings were not as intense as in the past, and I was able to stay balanced while logged into work. But the feelings were still there because I'm learning you can't just bury your stuff. It comes back up again. It reminds me of perennial plants. They seem to die during the winter, but the roots survive and the next year they bloom again. Well, I really don't want those emotions to bloom again because they're not beautiful flowers. I would like to instead remove those roots and get rid of those perennial feelings on a permanent basis. And I was given lots of opportunities to figure out how to do that. So on Friday, I had an eye doctor appointment. And since I don't go out too often, I was quite surprised to see that the traffic was really heavy. And I had some bumper-to-bumper moments as I tried to get from Highway 87 onto 280. Luckily, when I got onto 280, most of the traffic was headed south and I was headed north. But I have not been out driving that way in quite a while, and I ended up getting on 17 South in error because the Stevens Creek exit has changed, and that interchange is different, so I'm not used to that. And so in frustration, I called the doctor's office, told them I would be late. I thought, I'm going to cry. I'm going to be angry. But instead, I decided to lighten it up a little, and I started off by laughing and telling the office assistant that I had just been shelter in place for far too long and don't know my way around San Jose anymore, and I missed my exit. We both laughed about it, and then I calmed down, but I still felt a little bit disconnected. So when I got home, I went onto Facebook, because I go there a couple of times a week now, and I posted the photo of my new frames that I'm going to be getting. A few minutes later, I noticed there were a lot of likes and loves and comments. So on Saturday morning, when I opened Facebook, I noticed that I had over 50 people that responded to that simple photo of me wearing the new frames and a mask. And I thought, wow, well, the mask is colorful, but okay, come on. It was just, funny. But as I looked at the names of those who reacted, I suddenly felt my heart open up as I remembered wonderful experiences we've shared and the love that we share. So I could feel that love connection with everyone again. And I remembered that if so many people can love me unconditionally, then I can feel that same love for myself and know that I am worthy of that love, just as each and every one of you are worthy of love. So all week long, is the one thing that's been consistent is that this song has been running through my head, and although you've all heard it before and sung it with me, I wanted to share it with you as a part of the opening for the prayer. So let's take a moment and close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in, breathing in love, light, joy, abundance, and all good things for you. Hold on to that for a moment and breathe out. Letting go of worry, fear, sadness, anger, and anything else that no longer serves you, and place it into that virtual basket sitting next to you so our Creator can take it from you and transmute it for good. As I sing, please feel free to sing with me and know this to be true. I am the love of God. I am the love of God. I am the love of God. You are the love of God. You are the love of God. You are the love of God. We are love. We are love. We are the love of God. We are love. We are love. We are the love of God. We are the love of God. We are the love of God. Infinite Almighty Golden White Light, dearest Mother, Father, God, dear Creator, indeed you are that love, and we thank you for holding us through all times as we remember the great gift you bring to us every moment of every day, even if we are not feeling it. Help us to stay in our center in the midst of these crazy times of political unrest, health challenges, earth changes, and through our own personal growth. Allow us to recognize how powerful we all are and how taking care of ourselves is the first step in being strength for others. Let peace fill our hearts, and may that peace and love overflow to all so the whole universe can feel it. Bring us your mighty light, allowing us to respond to situations in our lives rather than reacting in a less loving way. Thank you for our first responders, doctors, nurses, our military, firefighters, police officers, grocery workers, and all those who give their all to take care of others. Please protect them as you protect us and keep them from harm. Bring courage and blessings to all those going through struggles right now, whether it be health, financial, or anything else causing dis-ease and discomfort. May despair be turned to hope and fear turned to trust. Trust in you, Creator, and in themselves. Bless our Mother Earth and all living creatures. May we feel our connection to all, knowing that we are one together. Thank you for this time today as we gather virtually due to your gift of technology. Thank you for our wonderful speaker, Connie, who brings us her wisdom and light. Thank you for the Center for Creative Living and for the Universal Church of the Master that brings us the opportunity to worship in our own way and encourages us to be our own authentic selves with unconditional love. Know that we love you as much as you love us, Creator, and that we thank you and for being ever present. In love and light, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessed be, amen, and so it is.
Good morning, CCL. So glad to be with all of you today. I'm Reverend Connie Habash. I have met most of you, if not all of you, watching this, I'm sure. It's been a while, and we've been through quite a ride, haven't we, this year? And when I received the download a few weeks ago of what I was going to talk about, responding to the world shadows, I thought, really? That's so heavy. That's such a challenging topic, but that's what came through. And it is really important. We're in the thick of it right now. As you well know, there's plenty going on. There's fires and there's hurricanes and there's the election and there's racial injustice and the Supreme Court and COVID-19. And did I forget anything? Because I've lost track, I think. It reminds me of something funny I saw on Facebook a few weeks ago. It was a meme of Back to the Future. Remember that movie? And it's a picture of the crazy scientist guy. He's sitting in the DeLorean with the door open and he's looking over at Michael J. Fox and he says, rule number 1, never set it to 2020. We didn't get the memo. Or maybe we did. Maybe our souls knew that we needed to be here to help the nation and the world through this challenging time. There are larger forces at work here than your personal energy or my personal energy. We have a collective energy going on that's affecting each of us. And knowing how to respond to it will help you navigate these turbulent waters. And I know it's a big task, but don't worry. It's not all on your shoulders. And together and individually, this time can be very healing and transforming for our lives and for the world. So before I go further into things, let's make sure we're all on a similar page about the shadow, because probably a lot of you know what the shadow is, but maybe some of you don't. So this is a term, a psychological term coined by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung back in the early 20th century, I believe it was. And he defined it as hidden or unconscious aspects of oneself, both good and bad, which the ego has either repressed or never recognized. And shadow work requires a willingness to look at ourselves beyond what we like and beyond what's on the surface. It's unconscious, but we can see the signs of what's there through things like passive aggressiveness. So, if someone says, "Oh, are you upset that I'm canceling today?" And you're like, "No, it's okay." But then we don't call them back the next 3 times that they call us. That's not really talking about how we're feeling, but we're sort of avoiding the situation, or it's coming out in other ways. The shadow can come out through projections. I'm going to talk more about that today, but that's basically seeing something in someone else that is actually an aspect of ourselves. And it can also come out in things like judgment. Judgment of others is often a reflection of our own self-critical nature. And it's often also the fear of looking at similar faults within ourselves. So shadow work also requires a moral and ethical framework. Again, quoting from Carl Jung, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort, meaning that we kind of have an internal guide of what's right or appropriate and what's wrong or not appropriate, what's helpful and healing to the world and what's harmful. To become conscious of it, he says, involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. So we do have parts of ourselves that maybe think about being a little violent, that maybe are rageful, that maybe would have said something hurtful if we didn't kind of filter that out and go, no, it's in there. We all have those aspects of ourselves. It's hard to see, though, because we do tend to project it on others, as I said. A Jungian psychologist named Frith Luton says that the shadow is comprised, for the most part, of repressed desires and uncivilized impulses, morally inferior motives, childish fantasies and resentments, etc. All those things about oneself that one is not proud of. These unacknowledged personal characteristics are often experienced in others through the mechanism of projection. And projection, I'll say a little more about that, refers to unconsciously taking unwanted emotions or traits you don't like about yourself and attributing them to someone else. And a common example is a cheating spouse who suspects that their partner is being unfaithful. That's a common example of what a projection might be like. So, deep breath. And by the way, you might want to have a journal and pen nearby for this, because I'm going to be asking some questions for your reflection. And you could even go back to watch this later, the recording of it, and do some writing on those questions so that you can more deeply process through the shadow and how to better respond to it. So we are faced with the world's collective shadow now, and we can see definitely this repression going on. Like there's a denial of what's happening, like people denying that, for example, there's systemic racism. There's a lot of projection of, it's over there, it's not me, it's them, right? And a lot of judgment, like they're the bad guys, we're the good guys, and that's also polarization, right? That's turning them into the shadow and us into, what I'm going to talk about in a moment, the persona. We know that we need to take collective action to address the negative effects of our collective egos and what we've been creating here. But we also know that we need to do our own inner work to see where the shadow that we're perceiving out in the world is reflected as a part of our own inner self. If we're aghast at how rigid and unwilling those people are on the opposite side of the aisle, we have to at least be willing to see the places in us that aren't willing to listen and think that we know what's right. And I know you guys are great with this. We're all, this is a very conscious community. We're always looking at within ourselves as well as outside of ourselves. So this is a call to be taking a closer look at that and really spending this time as we're in fall, which is a really reflective time to do our shadow work. Okay, so this brings up the persona, which I mentioned. So the persona is a role that an individual chooses to play in life, or it's the impression of them that they want to express to the outside world. It's kind of like the mask that we would like to wear. And the realization of the shadow is inhibited by the persona. The persona doesn't like looking at that, right? And doesn't want to think about, oh, I'm not those negative things. I'm only good. So to the degree that we identify with a very bright light persona, the shadow is correspondingly dark. Something to think about. And inevitably, if we're really attached to our persona, a conflict between it and the shadow arises. And then we'll see things show up like anxiety, depression, and acting out behaviors. So if you're feeling that way, you're not alone. You're not alone, right? We are certainly seeing this happen in our world. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety, depression. There's some hopelessness going on, and there's people acting out and pointing fingers and even attacking others that are likely the object of their shadow being projected on. Their fear and their unacknowledged aspects of themselves. So let's take another deep breath. Yeah. It's pretty big stuff, but we're ready. We came here in this life to do this work. You have everything that you need within you to do this. So this is all kind of heading and leading up to the crescendo of the election, right? You've got this going on. And there's another layer of what's going on collectively that you might want to know about. And that's, I'm going to share with you a bit of what's happening astrologically. Some of you may be aware of this, but probably a number of you aren't. And I think it's really fascinating and helpful archetypes to understand. So right now, currently, Mercury is retrograde. Mercury, the planet of communication and electronics and travel, at least short-term travel, is retrograde, meaning that from our perspective here on Earth, it appears to be moving backwards, okay, rather than forwards. And it's in the sign of Scorpio right now. And this can, Scorpio's the scorpion, right? It's got a stinger. So if we're not careful at this time where really we should be kind of inner reflecting, and Scorpio likes that deep, intense introspection. If we're not careful, though, that stinger can kind of come out in words that are going to be misunderstood or hurtful or misinterpreted. So we want to be aware and watchful of that, because we're seeing it blow up all over the place on Facebook and on the news, and people are getting tense and in each other's faces. But anytime a planet is retrograde, especially, I'm talking actually in particular about Mercury retrograde, because it's about communication and the intellect, the mind, is a time for all those RE prefix words, reflect, revise, renovate, look within yourself, make changes within yourself, both our own thoughts, emotions, attitudes, and beliefs, and as a nature and culture too. We really need to be doing that right now. And I think a lot of people are coming up to this election and the choice that they're going to make when they vote. It's a good time to review, to try to get a new perspective on things, a new view of what's going on in the world and in ourselves. So Mars, the planet of aggression, is also retrograde right now in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is very amorphous, ethereal. It's kind of cloudy. It's not really clear. It's very sensitive, psychic, all of that. This is not a really fun combination. Aggression in this diffuse kind of energy. And my astrologist says this is a time where illusion can really be at play. So we want to try to be as aware as we can of what's going on and use our discernment to kind of see through the surface appearance of things, that there may be a little illusory nature of what we're hearing and seeing and reading, question it a little bit and sit inside ourselves with what really feels like it's coming from my inner truth, what resonates there, so that we don't get we don't get, what's the word I'm looking for? Confused by potential illusion. Verify and investigate is a good thing to do. So now here's what's even more interesting is that Mercury goes station. Station means that it comes to a stop and stands still from all that backwards motion before it goes forward. It comes to station. It stops. And it is coming to station on Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day. And it will be in the sign of Libra. Libra. Libra is the sign of the scales. Libra is the sign of blind justice, meaning that without looking at all the appearances of things, right? Not getting caught up in potential illusion, we're going inward to the deeper inner spiritual truth to determine what is real justice, what is going to bring balance and harmony. I just want to show you, I'm going to share screen right now. Share screen. I'm going to share, wanted to share this. Here we go. So here she is. Here's Libra. That's the symbol for Libra, the scales. She's blindfolded. She's holding the scales. That's determining what is going to bring that balance and harmony and that true justice to the world and the sword of justice that cuts through to the truth. And now I need to figure out how to stop sharing. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? But that's not what I wanted. Yeah, there. Bye-bye. Let's stop sharing. Okay, so you saw the image there. So on meditation day, on election day, and during the days leading up to it, because we've got, several days coming before election day, meditate on Libra, meditate on this justice being served and coming about, the highest good for balance and harmony to be coming to the planet and to our world. It's a beautiful meditation, and you're aligning with the stars right now and aligning with where Mercury is going to make a stand for our world on election day. I think that's really powerful. So let's take another breath. Yeah. Now we can hold that vision for our nation and our planet, our collective, but let's turn to how to deal with the heaviness and the challenge of this shadow stuff going on all around us right now. Because we need some tools for dealing with this, don't we? Yes, we do. So first of all, obviously, own your projections. Let's really take a look at, are we projecting our own stuff out on someone else? Take a moment to reflect on what part of you may have similar traits or behaviors. So when our shadow is unconscious, we tend to react from it rather than a helpful response to the world. I know it's unpleasant work, but it will help remove some of the charge of the situation, and it also helps open up communication and connection between ourselves and others, especially those who have different views than us. And when we can see ourselves in the other, we can have more understanding and compassion and express ourselves from a less defensive, clear, open space. And the other side will be more likely to hear us if we aren't projecting our negative traits on them. So take a moment now and ask yourself, what may you be projecting that could be an aspect of your shadow? And again, you can write that question down and come back to it later, or you can watch the video later and then go through and journal and do a whole process with this. Secondly, maintain your energetic boundaries in order to get through this challenging time, so you're not taking on everybody else's shadow and all the collective shadow. So if you're hearing something that gets you really riled up, or you're really frustrated with someone that you're disagreeing with and you feel like, oh, their energy, keep your energetic space clear. And one way that you can do that, just think of 2 to 3 feet around you, the practice of me, not me. So inside that space is only me. Anything outside that is not me. Anything not me is not permitted to come in here in my space. And you can declare me, not me, and clear it out. I know that Reverend Chris teaches this and works with this because she and I both studied with Linda Cesara, who teaches this in energy class. So you can also go to her to talk about energetic boundaries and me, not me. So take a moment to ask yourself, who do you need to make better energetic boundaries with? You can reflect on that. And what do you need to do to protect your own energetic space better? It might be listening to less news, something like that. So the next thing is listen. I know it's easy right now for us to be telling people what we think all the time, or telling people that they're wrong, or that they need to see this point of view, or whatever. But consider spending less time doing that and more time listening to other people's perspectives and really trying to understand. And that will, again, like I talked about earlier, help open up connection and communication between people, because we're a little challenged with our communication right now. It's not going to be till after Election Day that things will shift in terms of Mercury's position. When you listen, of course, then seek the common ground. Find the place where you can both meet and have some agreement or some shared perspective. This is going to, help open doors that were previously shut to you. So who would you be willing to listen to a bit more? And of course, you're welcome to put this into the chat if you feel inspired to do that. And what common ground do you imagine that you might have with that other person or those other people? Let's reflect on this, probably after my talk. Then take action. Take action to heal the shadow in yourself and in the world. So making the inner and outer changes. Don't get overwhelmed by this. I know that, a lot of us are already tapped out. We're tired. We don't have time to give more, and we can't take on a cause right now. I'm not asking you to do that. In fact, small actions made by many people are going to have a much bigger impact. So, you could think about, is there a little action you could take? For example, I really wasn't up to making calls for a campaign or texting for a campaign. So I thought about what could I do? And I found out this organization that was sending letters to Wisconsin to get out the vote. So I sent 50 letters hand addressed to voters in Wisconsin. And I was like, that's what I had the energy to do. I felt really good about that. Sent them off. So, what's a small action that you could take to help heal or transform your shadow, or to help create positive change in the world that's going to be helpful, that you think is going to help create that change and bring about that balance? So what actions could you take to heal your own shadow? What actions could you take to heal our nation's shadow? Then find the good in your shadow and in the collective shadow, because it's there too. So our shadow isn't just what we don't, it's what we don't want to see about ourselves, but it's not just negative things. It also includes our gifts, our talents, our qualities that are really precious and special that we don't acknowledge in ourselves, or we don't give ourselves real credit for, or that we haven't believed are there, but they're really there. They're really in there underneath if you're willing to look. So own these positive aspects of your shadow too, and of our nation. There is so much possibility waiting for us to discover and to see and to activate within ourselves and in our nation right now. And we're so focused on what's wrong. I think we need to put more attention to what's right and what is possible, that if we put energy into, we can bring that forth. So what positive qualities lie in your shadow that you haven't been willing to see in yourself, or acknowledge in yourself, or really own? Consider that. Write it down or share it in the chat if you're inspired. And then, what positive qualities are in our nation to call forth, to envision, to see as possible? Take some time to reflect on that. And finally, recognizing that this is shadow, owning it in ourselves, sure, not just in others, but also recognizing that shadow, while it is a part of us and it's a part of our nation, it's not our true self. It's not our true self. It's only a part of ourselves. Our true self, our divine essence, is neither good nor bad. So it transcends persona and shadow. And we are individually and collectively so much greater than any thought, emotion, or behavior. We're much greater than any idea we have even of ourselves or of the world. There is no limit to what is possible in your life and on the planet. The only limits we have, we impose upon ourselves from our own thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. So if we're willing to open ourselves to something beyond thought, to our divine essence, beyond our emotions, beyond the experiences that we've had, infinite divine consciousness, then the world we envision can unfold, and our life as we long for it to be can unfold. So you might, together with me, hold this prayer and intent. May this sacred time in our world bring forth the deepest healing and transformation for all beings. And may we all discover the new higher vision beyond persona and shadow of our lives and of the nation. Many blessings. Thank you for joining me today.
We face the invisible, whistling in the night. Shadows of foretelling, breaching the ocean of light. We will meet in the middle of the river, where past and future live. We will meet in the sacred encounter. We will open up our hearts to give, to give. It is sometimes fear, it is sometimes fury. It can be an open, hidden wound. And injustice calls us to bear witness, sharing the secret. We are not alone. Oh, no, no, we are not alone. We will meet in the middle of the river, where past and future live. We will meet in this sacred encounter. We will open up our hearts and give. We can turn around to face what is behind us. we can turn around to taste the foreign shore. We can turn around and hold a lantern to forgiveness. Release our burdens to the evermore, evermore. To the evermore. We will meet in the middle of the river, where past and future, where they live, and we will mate in the sacred encounter. We will open up our hearts and we will give. We will open up our hearts and hold the lantern to forgive. Oh, we will live. We will open our hearts to give.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday, and for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video, and also please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does. We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.